Hello. We are going through a tremendous crisis which clearly has enhanced more panic, fear, anxiety, and uncertainty for the future in our society. You certainly have been asking yourself the questions which I've been asking myself for the past couple of weeks. For example, what are the biggest threats? What are the biggest opportunities? And what are the biggest takeaways? Well, if that's the case, then you are definitely at the right place and at the right moment watching this video. I am Chunking Fatwell, an inspirational speaker, a master of ceremony, as well as an event presenter. From the 1st of June to the 27th of June, I'll be interviewing a good list of interesting and amazing speakers and entrepreneurs and also leaders from 50 different nations on one platform. These leaders and speakers actually are active in different domains of expertise, and together we're going to try to answer the questions which were placed earlier on. Social, economic, as well as cultural aspects will be talked about during these discussions. This is going to be on the Facebook live session of the Speakers Arena. We'll be interviewing this list of entrepreneurs, and all together we're going to have an amazing time exchanging ideas, thoughts, and beliefs. These people are going to share their experience, and together we will try to sort out what the best idea is. So, till then, stay safe, stay healthy, and see you on the 1st of June. Goodbye. Hello, good evening everyone, good evening all the Facebook family, good evening the Speakers Arena family. I hope you all are doing well.
Good evening.
Hope you have a great starting to the weekend. Good evening, Conny. Good evening, Dr. Anja.
Good evening. Hi.
Good evening.
Great to have you live on Facebook for our Speakers Arena live sessions over here.
Thank you for having us.
Very much looking forward to the session.
Definitely. So I would love to apologize to the whole audience for the little issue which we had. We had some technical issues which we had to sort out. And for those reasons, we were obliged to postpone the meeting for 1 hour. But as we all often say, nothing happens for no reason. In other words, everything happens for a reason. So I guess if you are 1 hour late, somehow we will have more content, more time, and probably more calmness to go through the topics we're going to talk about with Conny and with Anna. So, ladies and gentlemen, as you know, I'm having two guests as always, two special guests, definitely. My first guest is going to be Conny Starke, who is an amazing lady, having a tremendous experience with life and going through trauma and pain and bringing the best out of it to make it in life. And my second guest is nobody else than Dr. Anja, who from her personal academic experience, but also from their career, was able to bring in a relationship between success in a company, but also success in a personal life as we go through our daily activities. Together with my two guests, I will try to bring out the best content ever. And tonight, I hope we're going to have an interesting and an amazing exchange. So I will play with Dr. Anja to wait behind the scenes, and we're going to be back in the next 30 minutes.
Okay, have fun.
Thank you.
Dr. Anja.
Hello.
Hello, good evening, Conny.
Good evening. Good evening.
How are you doing?
I'm very well, thank you very much. Yes.
Great. So just for the information of the public, Conny is actually calling from the UK, right?
That's correct, yes. Originally from Germany, but I moved to the UK 23 years ago. So therefore, I can only do this in English now, to be honest.
Which is perfect. Yeah, international, we go through the whole world, and we do not just focus on one culture. So it's a pleasure to have you speak English. Where precisely do you call from? Where are you actually calling from? Which part in England?
Which part in England? It is in Colchester, which is about 100 kilometers south of London. So I am near the East Coast, not south of London,
Okay.
northeast. So
Okay.
I'm near the East Coast.
Amazing. Amazing. Well,
Yes.
always for us an honor to have the whole world represented as well. So it's a pleasure that you are actually able to make it from London. And we've had a lot of guests. We've had guests from Asia, from the USA, from Africa as well. And, you know, it's such a huge potential which we have. And the vision which we basically have at the Speakers Arena is to bring the whole world together and to set the inspiration.
And that is so wonderful to see, to be honest. So wonderful to see, because it is so important that all nations do come together.
Definitely. So, Conny, before we get through the discussion, I know about you, but I think the public is eager to get this story. Tell us more about you, please.
So my story, where should I start, really? I think my story, the overall story, is talking about the subconscious mind and emotions. And when we talk about the subconscious mind and emotions, a lot of pain is around that topic. And as you rightly said, I am a lady who experienced a lot of pain in her life. That's correct. Now, the reason why I can actually talk about this is because I healed the pain. And there are times when I actually look at myself and wholeheartedly believe, my God, I'm healing on legs, you know, because I have had so many experiences where the heart got broken so many times. And I came to the point in my life where I had to look at, why is that? Why did my heart get broken so many times when I actually wanted to achieve the opposite? And I went on this courageous quest of mine, because when you look at your emotions, it can be another painful experience, really. And what happened was that I had to cast my mind back to where it all began. And it began in the east part of Germany, because I come from the east part of Germany and I grew up in that part. And therefore, I grew up with toxicity, because the system was toxic, as we all know. If you know about the history of Germany, you will know that East Germany was and had a different system, and it was toxic. So consequently, with the knowledge I have now, I would attract toxic relationships, because that was my belief system. And I had to find self-love, self-worth, self-respect, self-belief, self-acceptance. And this was a quite difficult journey in places, but I have mastered it. And I have come now to the point of, I'd like to encourage people to look at their emotions, because our problems we have and the behaviors we show do lie in our subconscious mind.
Well, this is really, what is really interesting in what you say is the fact that you don't just speak from a knowledge or an understanding perspective, but you speak from an experience perspective. You've gone through it, you felt the pain, and you know what it means. And you actually went through all of it, you know?
Yes.
Can you tell us more about certain things which you've gone through, which actually influences so deeply your engagement and what you actually do right now?
Okay, I think the first experience, really the first conscious experience, was I was married in Germany, and I was married for 10 years. And sadly, my husband took his own life. He committed suicide. And this was, of course, a huge, huge shock to the system. And to be honest with you, it took me 7 years to actually process of what happened. And after 7 years, I was finding myself that I had found some answers, but the quest hadn't finished there. It just stopped and paused for a while before it continued only, 4 years ago. But that was when the suicide happened. You go into shame, you go into guilt, and guilt and shame you carry around with you for so many years. And because you carry around with you for many years, it becomes your belief system. So I felt ashamed, I felt extremely guilty, but obviously the emotion of guilt I suppressed because I couldn't face this every day. You can't. So, but then later on, as I said 4 years ago, when another event happened in my life where a relationship breakup happened just out of the blue, everything got triggered again. And I also went on a spiritual journey, and I discovered that I had belief systems not serving me, but those belief systems were in place to protect me, because our mind's number one job, the primary job, is protecting us from outside influences so we feel safe. And this was a protection of mine.
Wow.
Yeah.
I love the last sentence. That's a very, very bitter truth about ourselves, because most of the time we don't really skill what our mind does. We just leave. There is a mechanism, and as you said, the mechanism of the mind, the first aim in the mechanism of the mind is to protect us.
Is to protect us.
That's a very bitter truth.
Absolutely, it's to protect us, and it is moving us away from pain towards pleasure. So this is how addictions happen, right?
Mm-hmm.
An addiction is a sign of helplessness. It's a sign of not feeling connected. And it can be not feeling connected to other people, but mainly you don't feel connected with yourself. You don't know who you are. And any addiction, as I said, is a sign of helplessness. And therefore, you go for something that gives you, it's a substitute, and that gives you pleasure. Now, whether it's right or wrong doesn't matter, because you convince your mind, you convince yourself that is good for you, this is what you need, and therefore that moves you away from pain towards pleasure.
Wow.
But pleasure can be harming, because, being an addict of, let's say, drugs, alcohol, even fitness, eating, shopping, that will harm you in the long run.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, tell me more about your actual. I mean, when I understand what you say, I guess you actually then engage yourself into helping others living the best version of your lives.
Yeah.
And eventually, those going through this pain, the same pain you've gone through, you try to help people go through it in the better way, or maybe get the best out of it, right?
Yeah.
How do you do that? Do you actually have a business? Do you have a
Yes,
or how do you go about that?
yeah, I have a business, and my business is called Beautiful Life. Beautiful inside and outside with confidence. And I think that says it all, because oftentimes we find beauty, or we think we find beauty on the outside, but actually we find the beauty on our inside first, because whatever goes inside ourselves, we project outwardly. Okay. So I help people to understand that their behaviors come from their emotions, which actually are in their subconscious mind. Now, I talk, basically, when I have clients, I talk to their subconscious mind. And I have discovered RTT, which stands for Rapid Transformational Therapy, which is a hypnosis therapy where you go back to, it's called regression, and you go back to 3 scenes. And once your client tells you those 3 scenes of what went on, not necessarily, you don't relive that moment again, but you then daisy chain, which means you find the common problem, right? And then once you have found the common problem, what actually did your belief system do for you? Okay, you then transform the client through audio recordings, and the transformation happens within 21 days. It is absolutely beautiful, amazing, and I've tried it myself, and it is really something I'm so passionate about because it works. You know, the client understands emotion, where they might have gone wrong, what can be improved, because let's face it, we all make mistakes in our lives. The important is that we understand our mistakes and that we see the lessons, because understanding is power, and power leads to freedom. And this is what we want to achieve. We want to achieve freedom so we can live the life we truly want and desire.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. Well, this is really something which I think needs to be said more often, because most of the time, and I think you talked about this. We talked about this just today. You were talking about the fact that most of the time we actually keep certain stuff in us, our issues, and the solutions are out there, but just because we are somehow wired into the security modus and we don't really want to be vulnerable, we actually don't search for real solution. So I think what you're actually talking about is a very, very useful solution for such issues which are common in society. But we need to be humble enough to accept that we need help, right? And we need to be sometimes very, very vulnerable to make use of the help which is offered to us, right? Do you agree with that?
Absolutely, absolutely. You see, most people will look for faults in other people. And actually, what we need to do is to look at ourselves first. You know, I could blame all sorts of people for my pain in my life. Well, that wouldn't help me at all, would it? So I have to take responsibility for myself, go on this quest, find out where did I go wrong, why did it happen, and what can I do to turn this around and to improve this for my future? Because my life isn't over yet. I still have, hopefully, plenty, decades to live. So therefore, it is my responsibility to change my life and not someone else's responsibility, because their understanding of happiness might not match my understanding of happiness, because we all have different meanings for words. So your definition of success might completely be different to my definition of success. That means our both worlds, our match, would not match. So that means you wouldn't be a match, or we wouldn't be a match. So you have to really take responsibility for yourself, for your own action, and be willing, curious to find out what you can do in order to improve your life. And it's not to blame, it's not to manipulate, it is a heartfelt, true quest to go on in order to live that life you really fully desire.
Yeah, I think we had a little sound issue, but I think we got
Yeah.
the core of what you said. I think we got the core of what you said. I really understood the message. The message is really, as you said, to go through the process, I guess. And it's just amazing. It's just amazing. I would like to get to a last one before we end our conversation. And first of all, before we get there, I would like to invite everybody watching this live to, first of all, as you know, you've got to share information. This is an offer of somebody who actually was able to go through tremendous experience and now puts her life as a source of inspiration and a source of transformation out there to each and every person in need. So you know what to do. You've got to share the information, but most importantly, you've got to come to the Speakers Arena 2021 to meet Conny Starke.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yes. Thank you.
Yeah. So tell us more about you being on stage on the Speakers Arena in 2021.
Absolutely. Yes, you will definitely see me there.
Amazing. So can you please tell us more? What will be the topic? What are you going to be talking about? What are you going to be talking about? And tell us more about what you would love to gain, to extract, but also to give during the Speakers Arena of 2021.
I think for me, the main message really is success is not the key to happiness. Happiness is the key to success. And it is finding the balance within yourself. And as I said, I have found it, and I can see the difference in my outside world. And once you have found the balance within yourself, all you attract is balance. And that is just simply beautiful.
Amazing. That's an amazing message. Before we leave, Conny, just allow me to shortly greet the audience again. Everybody who's present right now, I appreciate you being here with us, exchanging amazing ideas. We don't need to be 1,000. We don't need to be 2,000. We just need to be a few, but the few who are built, who actually are inspired by exchange. So I would love to greet every person, starting by Laura Goetz, who actually was with me day before yesterday. I would like to salute you from where you are. She actually commends you, you, Conny, and of course, Dr. Anja, as amazing ladies. I would love to greet Francine Akiem as well, who always tunes in to watch us in our live sessions, and who also is very, very passionate about inspiration, empowerment, and transformation. And the other person I would love to greet, who I had as the first guest on the Speakers Arena, is Claudia Broinline, who actually was with us on Monday, the 1st of June. That was actually 2 weeks ago. So, back to you, Conny, before we actually leave. Do you have a special giveaway for the public, which you would love to exchange with everyone? I know you just said, life is not just about, you said success, you said happiness isn't defined by success.
Happiness happiness is the key to success. But I think the message I really want to give to everybody is I am enough. So if you say it to yourself every single day and speak kind words to yourself, you will see a difference. I am enough, I matter, I am significant, and you will see a change.
Amazing, Conny.
Thank you.
Conny, I'm very grateful that you were able to be here live with us. And also,
thank you.
I would like to thank you for the patience. You actually waited for the technical issue to be solved, and we were able to make it during this live session. Thank you very much, Conny.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me.
So, Conny, we meet later. in on March 27th, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Great. So then I wish you a good evening, amazing weekend, Conny.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. So, ladies and gentlemen, as you know, we are following the inspirational talks and exchanges with my guests. And I just had another exchange, which actually was about transformation, going through trauma, through pain, and making the best out of it to have an exponential life. My next guest is a specialist for success and is a specialist for management. And together we'll try to go through the relationship which exists between business success and personal life success. Permit me to greet Dr. Anja Henke. Good evening, doctor.
Hello, Manuel. Nice to meet you here on this screen.
It's all my pleasure. How are you doing?
I'm fine. Actually, it's right. The delay may be good, so there is just more time and relaxation to maybe dive into quite a different topic, because here what I would like to talk about is more about the business part of the transformation, but which also involves us as human beings, because companies are built by human beings. And that's sometimes, sometimes it seems to me like people forget that when they do all the cost cutting.
Wow, that's just great. And I think it's not really something bad. I think it's even positive because it brings a little bit of diversity. And if we dive from the personal aspect and get into the business aspect, then it makes it complete, So I think it's perfect. It's a perfect transition.
Yeah, and both parts are directly interconnected. They belong to each other, from my perspective.
Absolutely. But just before we dive into the technical aspect, Dr. Anja, can you please tell us more about you as a person, as an individual? I think the audience is actually definitely impressed by your title as a doctor, but we would love to know more about you personally.
Yeah, okay. It's my pleasure to share a bit about my story. Actually, I've got quite a diverse background and had different kinds of careers. I started off in the laboratory as a biologist, where I did research on human genetics. That was in the beginning of the 90s, when the Human Genome Project was at the very beginning, so the decoding of the DNA of the human being. And actually, I had a little part of that. That was a part of the X and the Y chromosome. It was a great time. Was very exciting. Anyhow, I had at the time the feeling that in the lab I just have very few people who I can talk to, and I dive very much in the depth of the special topics. But the world is much bigger, so I was dreaming about having a career as a manager. And back then, McKinsey did an advert in the Zeit magazine. Zeit magazine is a pretty well-known newspaper in Germany, and they've been searching for consultants. Honestly, I didn't have a clue back then what consultants are expected to do, but I just thought, well, that looks amazing. And they had their top 3 women there in the advert. And so I sent my documents, and I went there and had the discussions. And well, so I got started with McKinsey. Today, that's a very different kind of journey, because doing the case interviews and getting there, that's quite a hurdle. Back then, well, I just went there, and for me, now looking back, it was quite amazing that it worked. And it was quite a tough time, because it was really very different kind of expectations. And I had a tough time in the initial project, where I also didn't have a lot of support. I was expected to restructure a medical engineering company. Really, I didn't know a lot about it. I didn't know anything about business. So, but then I started to learn how it works. In the second project, I had some more support. It's all about people. And then I spent 6 years as a top management consultant. Also had the opportunity to travel around the world in young age. Also back then to South Korea, doing a project there, and then over to China. China, there was Shanghai was the first office which was opened up on the mainland China. So it was really an exciting time. It was pretty much a focus on innovation, technology, regional expansion. So it was not so much about restructuring. Anyhow, McKinsey is a tough system. It's up or out. And there was a time when I didn't have any support because people I knew, they left. And also there was a time when I didn't have the engagement anymore to do everything which was needed. And obviously that has a reason, because it's a tough system. It's a great system. I learned a lot. But anyhow, there was a collision with my values or my way of being. So I left McKinsey in 1999 was 2000 and founded my own organization. Actually, I had a short another employer, but only for a very short time. Was not a very great experience, honestly. So I became an entrepreneur. I thought, okay, well, was the next step where I didn't have a clue what it really means. So I started, and I faced quite some problems. That refers a bit to what Conny talks about. It's not so that everything is just smooth on this journey. Also, the time in McKinsey was not smooth. So then, as an entrepreneur, I discovered the power of coaching. I had a great lady who invited me for the first coaching session, and I was amazed, because being a smart brain is one thing, but looking at the inner attitudes, the mental landscapes, the emotions, that's quite a different thing. And there are so much more tools to solve problems. And so I started to further develop myself first, gain a lot of knowledge, and started to build procedures and tools and methods to support companies to grow sustainably. Because growth, it's personal growth, my own growth and my journey, but it's also about business growth. That's what is fascinating for me. And also, what I believe business growth, it's the key source of prosperity for our society. So it's also important that we have strong companies in any country, but maybe Germany has some special issues which need to be solved. So that's what I'm doing today. I name it the best of business coaching and consulting. So really a mixture of the different methods and approaches to support the companies, because business growth is always also about personal growth and change of the decision makers, of the executives. So it was quite a long story. Thanks for listening.
It's just amazing. I mean, it's impressive, first of all, how diverse your path, your professional path is, but as well, it's very impressive to see how you were a mixture of cultures and you were able to go through the whole world and eventually get more about the different countries, their cultures, their habits, their mentalities, but also the personal and human aspect of it all, which makes a combination of you as being a scientist, a business lady, and a humanitarian, let me say so. It's just amazing. It's really mind-blowing. And I think the audience needs to really get this. I mean, it's really something which I love. I love talking about companies, societies, and I think maybe you know about Simon Sinek. Do you know about Simon Sinek? Maybe?
Yeah, starting with why. Yeah.
Exactly, starting with the why, exactly. And one of his books talks about leaders eat last, talking about the fact that if an organization is supposed to function really well, there was supposed to be the combination between the numbers, the people, and the values of the company. And that's actually what makes everything prosper. And from what you say, I can remark and I can note that you are an incarnation of this combination. It's just amazing, Dr. Anja. So, but
thank you very much. Yes.
Definitely. I love it. I love it. But let's get a bit more into your career as a coach. So, this is a very general question. How does your past, be it as a biologist, as a scientific from the lab, or be it as, I don't know, a manager, a top manager, whatever the experience you've acquired, how does it actually influence you right now as a coach? Is there a correlation which actually which you put in place in order to benefit from the past, or you are basically just an academician who understands things and who tries to apply things according to how theories function?
Yeah, actually, these if you talk about further development and being a human being, from my perspective, it's always about experience. So, for example, when you start as a coach, there are a lot of educations which give you a nice tool set. But I believe that it's really required to go through the experience and to develop yourself further before you start working with others. And that's what I did. And also, it was a valuable process. It was also a painful process, because when you start looking at yourself, well, there are a lot of things. Yeah, it's not only nice. It's nice when you manage to go through some of the topics, discover some of your beliefs, and when you're starting to be able to change it, and when it becomes visible in your own life. That's for me really a great thing to do. So, and when I was with McKinsey, I was not really attracted to personal development because it seemed to be a weakness. And I still see that today often when I talk to top managers. They don't see it as a strength. They see it as a weakness when they start to reflect and to look at themselves. And that's also a big obstacle to overcome when it's about developing pathways and strategies to growth, because it's always connected to the belief systems of the decision makers, especially on the top of the companies. So, and what is important for me as a scientist, I use methods. I train myself in a way that it's solid. That's why I'm trained as a coach, and I'm certified along the standards of the International Coach Federation, which is one of the global coach organizations, and they really aim to make coaching a profession. It's not a profession today, so they really have certifications that's about your behavior and your skills, not your tool set. And, I think that's a good system. And then of course it's always a challenge to combine that with the strategies and the numbers, because in business, of course, you need to develop yourself, but you also need to produce results.
Sure. Absolutely. And from what I know, from what I've actually observed, you have a little observation on how systems and cultures function. I think you have a better side than I. But what I've observed is in cultures like in the USA, the personal development industry is more influential in almost all departments and even the scientific departments. As a matter of fact, many scientists actually engaged into personal development because they acknowledge the role which is placed in the society. And as you said, people make decisions, and decision makers actually have to be in shape in order to make the right decisions. So, but what do you think maybe is lacking in the European culture in order to bring the shift, this understanding? In your opinion, maybe. In your opinion, what do you think is the difference in approach to what goes about personal development?
Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. In the US, I think it's normal to have a psychologist and to have a coach. The whole personal development is much more advanced. It's like 20 or 25 years ahead of Europe, especially Germany. I think in Germany, it's pretty much traditional thinking about this issue. And also many people believe it's close to a disease or so. You need to have a therapy, a psychologist, and that's really considered as something which is negative. So it's more in the disease corner than in the further development corner. And the coach organizations, many people, they really work on changing that. So that's not my mission, that's their mission. I support it. When I talk to top managers, I'm not talking about coaching. I'm rather talking about consulting and having sessions to reflect a strategy. So it's often about the wording, how to address people, and how to get the doors open, because that's the key thing. Because once people experience it, usually what I see is they are pretty open to it, and they're even grateful, and they really take on the path. And that's, I even work with people like firefighters, which are really far away from all these issues, and they really appreciate it when they see, hey, it's an advancement, and our work is more easy and more productive, and we save more lives.
Wow, amazing. It's just amazing. Now, let's get to a very technical question, and this probably concerns you as an expert in consulting. When you consult companies and when you advise companies on issues concerning progress, numbers, and management, what do you personally encounter as the major or as the most often problem which companies encounter with their management, which actually hinders them from hitting up?
Actually, I would say that is one key thing is education, because managers today, they are trained in a certain way. We have the whole economic studies and the MBAs, and they study the numbers, they study the models, and they forget that the model is a theoretic system to explain reality. It's not reality itself. And many of these models are false, like the Homo economicus. People know it, but still it's used. And people do the case studies, and they pretty much have it's not so much management style, it's more about management education. So also what people really learn in their studies. They learn about the numbers, they learn about the models, and they learn to look at the numbers and to come to certain conclusions. And the standard conclusion is the costs are too high, so we need to reduce cost and restructure. And that's, or to consolidate, so to M&A, join other companies. And that's pretty straightforward processes, which are, I don't say they are easy to manage, but they have a certain logic. And even without a lot of knowledge with regard to human beings, you can manage that. On contrast, if you start to develop something new, if you want to go for growth, it takes a very different kind of mindset and skill set. And some people have it by nature, but often these are people who are not so powerful. They're not so much concerned about power and status. So they are a bit besides the system. It's not that the ideas are not there, but to bring these things together, to change the mindset, to build some capabilities, to take a different look at the situation and to enable a different sort of strategy. That's for me, these are the keys. And then miracles can happen.
That's a very good perspective. And I mean, when you look at the big companies, it's generally a very rich issue to address, a very huge question to address such issues, because the structure already has a fixed culture which shouldn't be somehow shaken, and therefore there is it's a stagnant mentality which actually doesn't give way for change. But I would like to approach something a little bit smaller, because I think now there is more ability for change, for impact. Because here's a question really shortly. For companies maybe who are on the very, very smaller scale, I would say startup for example, what would you say should be the best thing to consider in order to know growth, but also consistent growth, and to manage the growth in a way that it will stumble some time later, in your opinion? For a little startup who just maybe opened a few years ago, or actually just opened recently.
Okay, I'm not exactly sure whether I got the question right.
The question, can I repeat?
Yes, please, would be great. Thank you.
Okay. So the question is, for the bigger companies, it is harder to have an impact. For the smaller ones, it's actually easier. But the issue most of the times is there is an uncertainty, but also a lack of experience in developing standards, norms, and having a culture. So, in your opinion, for a startup who just recently opened, we have many entrepreneurs who actually watch live, and we have many young people who are interested in the business.
Okay.
They don't really know what are the biggest important things to do. What, in your opinion, is important for an entrepreneur in order to know consistent growth, but also in order to have to master the growth and to keep it at the growing stage?
Okay, now understood. Thank you very much. From my experience, one key thing is to really look at the growth cycle, because there is a certain logic in how a company develops and through which stages a company is going. Usually, an entrepreneur who's founding a company with his own idea, he goes through certain cycles, and of course, he faces very different kind of challenges. When it really works, the idea, then fast, the entrepreneur, the visionary, is asked to build structures, and often that's not the strength of the visionary. So it can be good to have an experienced manager by his side or her side, to build these structures to have the substance to carry the growth. That's also a skill, organizational development, which is available, but often not at the right places. So that would be the recommendation, to really look at the team, because often the person who has the idea, who initiates the company, is not necessarily the one who guides the company through further growth. Often it takes a different person with a different mentality and a different skill set. That's also when many entrepreneurs start to work together with a larger corporation to get the resources and to get the experience. That can be very helpful when it's done in a good way. Because of course, a large corporation and a startup, they're very different cultures, very different belief systems, and that often clashes in real life. But it can also be a tremendous potential of growth and innovation for both parties if it's done right. And there are systems to really do that properly, but they are not very well known in the world today. So building the structures and get somebody with some experience. Otherwise, it's difficult. Also, what's important, focus. Especially at the beginning, focus on one product first, because otherwise the resources get so discarded that that it's hardly possible to succeed.
Wow, interesting. So from what you said, I get what I actually keep in my mind is, first of all, be surrounded by experienced managers, or let me say experienced cooperatives who could help put in the going factor. And the second thing, focus on one thing at a time. Did I get it right?
Yes, exactly.
Great. So Dr. Anja, I would love to ask the question for the audience. If somebody is, I don't know, an entrepreneur out there or a manager, I would love to get in touch with you for your services. How is it possible?
Actually, in the meantime, we built up a little shop which lines out our services. Of course, working together like this requires some trust. That's why I developed a set of different products. One, actually, these are like physical products. One of those is I developed a set of 55 cards on behavioral economics, which exactly describes our way of thinking and how it's biased, and how to overcome it. So that can be a starting point. And then we define like packages of 3 discussions, like for example on leadership. What's the 3 basic foundations for leadership, to develop that in 3 discussions. Or for a company, when there's the question, well, what's the right point to start with our growth effort? To do an analysis with one of the systems which I developed, the 9 keys to growth, which really is a bit like a decoding system for growth, to really take a bird's eye view on the organization and to identify the right points to get started. Or it can be a workshop to identify growth potential, just a few hours or a day. So up to masterminds to solve special issues like developing growth strategy. And what I also do for some companies, I guide the process of their strategy development, hand in hand with the development of the decision makers. And that's then like I work with them half a day or a day per week by phone or on the ground. And then for half a year or a year to really establish the results they want. So it's quite different ways to cooperate, but it's always based on dialogue and research, of course, and using the different competencies.
Thank you very much, Dr. Anja. So, ladies and gentlemen, as you just heard, there are services for you guys, be it personal coaching, be it company coaching, you've got it all. Dr. Anja is an experienced, amazing woman who actually does not only have the academic knowledge, but has the practical experience from her path to guide you through and to bring you to the peak of your potential as a company. So, Dr. Anja, I think you're going to be there present on the Speakers Arena 2021 as a live speaker, right?
Yes, of course. Definitely.
Amazing. Amazing. So let me tell the audience again, if you want to meet Dr. Anja personally, if you want to get the personal inspiration and speech from her, if you want to know who she really is from the person, then you should be there on the 27th of March in the Meistersingerhalle in Nürnberg. And that's going to be on a Saturday. You have no reason not to be there because it's a weekend, and we will make sure to bring you the best content. Dr. Anja, what are we talking about on the Speakers Arena?
Mhm. Of course, I will talk about growth, business growth. I will talk about 3 key points. First of all, today, well, now we are in the crisis and growth is even more important. But still, even before the crisis, we lived in a world of poor growth and many companies struggled to grow. The crisis is just making all the problems much more transparent. So we live in a world of poor growth. At the same time, there are tons of opportunities for growth. Even the crisis creates additional opportunities for growth based on the disruption, based on what is now called the low-touch economy, which is enabling new innovations. And then the question is, of course, why do companies not capture these opportunities? Then I'll give some answers on what the roadblocks are, some we talked about here today, and lay out a pathway how companies can, first of all, build the mentality for growth, and then the capabilities or the competencies, and then also the ability, so to really implement it, to act accordingly. That's what I'm going to talk about. Of course, in short, you could talk about it for a long, long time.
Amazing.
And thank you very much for doing such a marketing for me. That's really, really great. Thanks a lot.
Oh, I mean, this is just about being real. You know, there's a difference between branding and just doing the empty marketing, and there's a difference between branding, which I believe has its place definitely, but I think it is more important to bring out the best value. And I think you've got the value, and I think we as a public, we've got to benefit from what you offer. And so I'm grateful you were able to make it here, and I'm grateful you're going to be there on the Speakers Arena. We are honored to have you. And ladies and gentlemen, you know what to do. If you want to meet Dr. Anja, book your ticket, Eventbrite. You can have a ticket, VIP ticket. You can win a ticket. But most importantly, put it on your calendar. The day should be saved. 27th of March, you should be there. But also, you can actually contact Dr. Anja personally for your business, company, or personal growth plan. Dr. Anja, I am more than thankful for you being here live on stage with me on Facebook Live. And I'm really excited to meet you on the 27th of March in Nürnberg.
Thank you very much for the great interview. Thank you for having me. I'm very much looking forward to being on stage in Nürnberg next year.
Absolutely. Dr. Anja, last message for the world, for the audience. Do you want to say something special for the public tonight before you leave?
Oh, yeah, would be great. There's a lot of discussion about leadership our day, and so many people are shying away from leadership. And I just encourage everyone, especially the ladies maybe, because they are shying away from leadership very often. I just encourage you to think about leadership, think about what you want to achieve, whether it's leading people or just leading for an idea. Just think about leadership and take the lead. It's so important, and we all have a voice, and we all have the power to really change the pathway and change how things are going. So that really consider the leadership.
Amazing, amazing. Let's all engage into leadership, and let's be the leaders which we want to see in others tomorrow. Yeah. Let us be the light which we want to see out there. Thank you very much, Dr. Anja. I'm so grateful for your message, for the interview, and for the time.
Thank you very much. It was my pleasure. So nice to talk to you.
Amazing.
Thank you very much.
Dr. Anja, I wish you a good evening, and we meet latest on the 27th of March, 2021, right?
Right. Yes, we do.
Great. Amazing. Till then, I wish you a good evening, and I wish you an amazing weekend.
Thank you very much. The same to you. Talk to you soon.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye. Bye.
So, ladies and gentlemen, before we leave, I would love to read a couple of comments just really quick, we were here, you were commenting, you were exchanging ideas. I was so focused on discussion that I didn't even take care of you. I'm very sorry about that. We had Emanuela Raul, who actually greeted us. Thank you, Emanuela, for the greetings. We have Claudia Tan, who was actually here with us. Thank you, Claudia, for being here and sharing your ideas and your thoughts. It's an amazing time exchanging with you. We also had another comment. I think this was Uncle Bruce, who actually appreciates Dr. Anya's work. Thank you very much, Uncle Bruce, for commenting and for being here with us. And hopefully you all are going to be present on the 27th of March so we could have the same feeling live in a hall and have the warm exchanges. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm thankful for you were here. I'm thankful you were able to make it for the live sessions. I am grateful you were able to be here with us. And I wish you a good evening. We meet on Monday, same time, 7 p.m. with another list of amazing guests. And next week is the last week of the Speakers Arena live sessions. And we have the special guest for the end. I won't want you to miss our guests of next week. Therefore, put on your calendar Monday, 7 p.m., Wednesday, 7 p.m., and Friday, same time. Till then, stay blessed. Good evening to all and an amazing weekend. Goodbye.
I am so excited to be here to support Miranda Open in this wonderful vision of bringing 50 speakers from 50 nations together. It is a way of uniting the world, bringing inspiration from all over, and I'm just so incredibly excited to be here. Thank you.
Der Hauptgrund, warum ich heute hier bei der Speakers Arena bin, ist, dass Miranda eine so große Vision in die Welt bringen möchte, dass ich gerne einen Teil dazu beitragen möchte, meinen Teil dazu beitragen möchte, dass wir diese Vision groß machen und in die Welt rausbringen können.
Ich wurde eingeladen von Miranda und ich habe eine Einladung bekommen und sofort hat es mich innerlich berührt und ich war so aufgeregt und I feel honored to be here on stage and that I can represent my home country, Germany. And as well talking about life-changing processes, how I developed from a homestay mom to an entrepreneur. So I would like and inspire change in life.
I'm here today because I wanted to support Miranda. I loved her idea and her big vision of bringing 50 nations together and 50 people speaking on stage. It was phenomenal so far. The networking is just outstanding. And I just love being part of such a big vision. So I decided to make my way here to the Speakers Arena 2019.
Today, July 27, 2019, I want to thank my family that believed in the vision. I want to thank my husband who said, yes, honey, you can do it. I want to thank my son who always gives me a hug when I'm tired. My family back in Cameroon, my family across the world, and today my new family of the